welcome back to another album review as chosen by our wheel. So anyway, this is the very first of the Judy Garland Souvenir albums, and to the best of my knowledge, technically counts as her first studio release. Now, it gets murky when it comes to Judy trying to figure out the chronology of everything because it is interspersed amongst movie soundtracks as well that she did. And this came out the same year as the Wizard of Oz soundtrack, so trying to figure out which one technically was first when dates aren't recorded that clearly. It's a coin toss, so I'm going with this one first because it felt like a cop-out to do Wizard of Oz first. So, anyway, we'll do all of them. Oh, mind you, we will do all of them eventually. So, but this one, it's interesting even with, like, its release history. So, when this first came out, I mean, there's only 6 tracks on it because it was 78 records, and it was released as 3 discs, 1 track to each side. So they were basically like singles, but 78 speed, right? So that was the first release. You basically don't find that one anymore. The repress, the next year, still had the 3-disc format. And that one generally is the one, if you find this at all. It's hard to find this in any format, but if you find it, that's generally the one you're gonna find. It'll cost you maybe $65 to get it in your collection usually, for a good quality one, anyway. So, that's the one you'll find. The year after that, they repressed it again, but curiously they shrank it to 2 discs, still had all the tracks, but they compressed it. Obviously, the sound quality isn't quite as good on that one, so it is what it is. Basically, if you find it, look for one of the first 2, but odds are you will find that first repress, and that is fine. But anyway, so, we're gonna go through this track by track, as I always do when I do my album reviews. So the first track on here, let me give a little back history here. Basically, they fleshed this out because the middle disc on it was a single that already existed for Judy, and, like, the A-side was Dear Mr. Gable, You Made Me Love You, which everyone knows. That was, like, the first hit she ever had. And then the B-side of it was You Can't Have Everything. So, this, it's still in there, but then they added a couple more singles effectively to this. So anyways, first track on here is called Figaro, and it's not the Figaro you're thinking. I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking, Figaro, 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 Figaro. No, it's not that. It's not even remotely close. It's actually a song about the Barber of Seville. Which, yeah, I don't know either, but oh my god, it is a catchy, swingy song, and it's got, like, the full big band backing it and everything. I hate that this song has been forgotten to time, because, of Judy's early output, holy shit, talk about the little girl with the big voice. This is a perfect embodiment of that. Because, a lot of this was recorded when she was just, like, about 17 years old. So, you factor that in. And then you listen to these. Now compare these to Liza's earliest recordings where she was also 17. It's like, oh, shit. Yeah, but Judy, though, she already had, like, the grown-up voice, even as, like, a kid, which was one of the things that made her such a valuable asset to MGM. So this song embodies that big time. If you've never heard it before, it's on YouTube, you can play it. It's also on Spotify, so even if you don't want to throw the money at buying this thing or tracking it down, because it is a headache to track this one down, it's all out there, so you can hear it, but do yourself a favor, even if you don't listen to any of the others, play this one, and you will understand why Judy Garland was such a big goddamn deal at that age. So the second track on the album is called Oceans Apart, and much as the title would imply, it is sort of a sappy, sentimental, bittersweet kind of a song of longing, but it's surprisingly sophisticated coming from a girl of that age. This is something you would expect to hear a full-grown adult singing, and granted, I'm sure it was adults who were writing the song itself, but that doesn't detract from the way that the song itself comes off, And the instrumentation on this is absolutely just stunningly beautiful. There's, again, the big band background to it. A lot of clarinets, a lot of oboes going on in it. So, it's kind of that very old school, old-timey kind of feel in this one. somehow this one feels older than the first track. Don't ask me how or why, but it does. But at the same time, factor in when this was recorded. It wasn't old-timey when it was recorded, right? That was modern for back then, so... But it does have, like, a sweet nostalgia to it, and just... I do love this, but I mean, do I love it as much as the first track? No, but I mean, I do love it in general, and it is a very beautiful song. So the third track in is the one that most people know from this one, since, I mean, it is the song that put Judy on the map originally, and it's Dear Mr. Gable, You Made Me Love You. But this, I mean, there were a couple versions of the song recorded, and this is the full one, with the full intro and the full dialogue in the middle of it that makes it so cute, because you're hearing it with her little voice and everything, and, I mean, for as much as she had, like, the big adult voice coming out of the kid body, this is one instance where she very much did, in fact, sound her age at the time of recording it, and it just adds such an endearing quality to it. Now, would I say it's my favorite on this album? No. I mean, I think a lot of people would, just because the familiarity of it, and because it is the one that they know. But for me, I don't know, I tend to, like, lean away from greatest hits because of exactly that reason, and I tend to like deeper cuts better. So for me, just because I've heard this song so damn many times, I wouldn't call it my favorite one, but I mean, I don't dislike it in any kind of way, shape, or form at all. Of course not. I mean, as a Judy fan, you gotta love those too, but it's, again, not the favorite on here. But I do appreciate getting to hear it in its entirety the way that it was meant to be experienced. So, if you've never heard the full version, seek this one out, because this one has the whole thing, instead of the abridged version that was used later on for different compilations and things. This is the one. This is the one. So it's got a runtime of, I think, 3:09 on it, so that's what you're looking for. So the fourth track in is You Can't Have Everything, which is another lesser-known song on here, but it's another, like, really bouncy, catchy kind of a song. And again, this was the B-side to the prior track, so this is an earlier one. But she doesn't sound as young on it. I mean, it was recorded in 1937, for whatever that's worth, but... Anywho, I mean, it's got, like, a great message to it. I mean, obviously, like, the title says, you can't have everything, and, like, don't be jealous of what your neighbors have, help the needy. I mean, it's a good message and everything, but also just in general, it just is a really upbeat, positive kind of song, and seems like something that was very much needed for that time frame in history, especially around the time of World War II. Like, this probably got a hell of a lot of play. Just saying. So... it is a good one to keep a hold of in your arsenal of things, especially when you're trying to be positive. It is a good song to listen to at times like that. So if you've never heard it, again, check it out. My only regret is that it hasn't been restored more than it has, because there is, like, a lot of pop and hiss in, like, every recording I've ever heard of this song. So I feel like if any brand out there wanted to restore it, they probably could. They just, for whatever reason, haven't. But I sure wish they would. Okay, second to last track is called In Between, and this was written at a time before the term tween was a thing. So the fact that somebody took the time to write a song about that very brief moment in a girl's life is honestly beautiful to me, and I did grow up listening to this song, and it meant a lot to me because it hit right at home when I was that age. So, I mean, it's basically exactly what it says on the tin. It's about that time frame where you're too old for dolls, but you're too young for boys. It's such a frustrating time to go through, and granted, some of the references in this are dated to the era that it came out in. Of course they are, that's natural, but the sentiment of the song still holds up today as it did back then, if you ask me, and sounds surprisingly mature, all things considered, for the age she was when she was singing this. I personally adore this song, and it is one that thankfully wasn't forgotten at time, because again, I've known this song most of my life, so it's been on different compilations and things. It's been around, so this one, thankfully, mercifully, is much easier to run across, and most Judy fans do know this one. So the last track on here is another one that goes hand in hand with the prior song, and this one is called Sweet 16, and again, also pretty much what it sounds like. It's another song about the frustrations of growing up and frustrations of being too young and everything that goes along with this. But unlike the last one, this one kind of feels forced and corny, like they just needed something to be the B-side of that one. So they did this that essentially goes through age by age, her reflections on how frustrating it was to be each of those ages and why, and then what it's going to be like to be 16, at least in her mind, and how wonderful life will be. And again, I mean, the very big voice coming out of that tiny little girl is stunning, but it doesn't hold the same gravitas as the last track, in my opinion. So, I mean, it's fine, but I see why the other one is the one that seems to be better remembered than this track. So, overall, I mean, as a straight out of the gate album, if we can really call it that, being only 6 tracks long, it's not bad. It's not bad. I would give it a 7.5 out of 10, personally. But yeah, it's just a shame that it's so hard to get a hold of. I mean, you can one by one track down the tracks. They may or may not be in the greatest quality doing so, but it can be done. But to actually find the album physically itself, I don't believe it ever had a CD release, so if you're gonna find it, it's gonna be on 78s. So you better have something that can play them. You better hope it's copies that are in good enough quality to still be played, which, you know, not everything holds up that well over that length of time. Like, the older they get, the harder it is to find good, playable, quality things from that far back. I mean, it's getting harder and harder even finding things just from the 60s that are still in great quality. Say nothing of the 40s, early 40s. So, just saying. Just saying, you might have better luck just tracking it down digitally rather than trying to own it. But if you want to, it's at least not outside the realm of possibility to afford or anything. It's just up there for what it is. But it's a good first attempt at an album, be it what it may. So, anyways, that is gonna be it for this one, guys, and as usual, you know what to do. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe. Hit that notification bell icon so you never miss an upload. Leave comments down below. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, my Facebook fan page, my Twitter, my Instagram, my eBay, my Reddits, everything and more. It's all down below. And if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support it, the donation link, as always, is down in the description. Get your name on the end card for a month from the time of donating. Anyway, guys, till next time, see ya.